Hey guys, it's Targon here doing a Raid Shadow Legends video, and today I wanted to take advantage of the current Fire Knight tournament in order to make a video on how to beat the Fire Knight. Alright, so want to go over just some of the dynamics because the Fire Knight's actually one of the more intricate bosses in the game. In my opinion, he's got a couple of different things going on. One is, and I'll show you kind of on the run, but you've got to take down his shield, and then the other is he's healing. So a lot of people can find him to be very challenging. When I first started playing the game, he was definitely very challenging for me. And so I wanted to just go over a guide to strategize and take him out quickly and effectively. All right. So, and I want to show you with champions that are relatively easy to get. So like epics and so forth. So I'm going to do a run on stage 20. And so a few things that you really want to do. So because he's healing, there's two options that you can use to deal with the heal. One is you can put a heal reduction on him, which at least prevents the heal from happening. The other is you can just decrease his turn meter over and over and over again in order to prevent him from being able to heal. Okay? Now, the other challenge is he has a shield, so on Fire Knight 20, it's going to be 10, like you have to hit the shield 10 times to bring the shield down, and only then are you able to put your debuffs on, your decreased turn meter, and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of dynamics going on. So I'm going to go ahead and just throw together a team using free-to-play champions. So this is like, you don't have to get lucky on pulls other than, I mean, some people it might take a little while to get a Cold Heart, but I want to showcase her for this. You might not necessarily be able to get a Stag Knight. He is an epic, but he's a really good epic, so I'm going to include him here. We'll go ahead and I'm going to use Razin because he's a champion that everybody can get. Definitely get him. He's really good for this. And let's see, who else do we want to use here? Oh yeah, there we go. Use you, and I'm gonna just go ahead and throw Syl in. Now, even though she's weak affinity, it's good to bring her, you know, if you've got her. Obviously, now, if you're before Syl, you can find somebody else, like a healer or someone like if you have a Doom Priest. Actually, Doom Priest is really good for this as well. But Syl can be good, especially if you build her really strong. It helps during the waves so that because it's force affinity, the mobs are going to be attacking her. And you can load her up with defense and health pretty easily so that she's okay. And her stun can help in the waves as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'll do a couple of the waves here. See, she stunned a few, but and Razin's got his decreased turn meter. So this first wave is not going to really do much damage to me at all. But I am going to want to make sure that my team's got some of their skills available for the boss. And the reason I'm going with Arminger here is because he has a decreased turn meter on his A1. And so you can see like he's dropping the turn meter, like half of the team's not getting a turn between the stuns, and here we go, we drop the turn meter again. And let me just pop her. Okay, we got one more before she. I don't want her using her nuke on these guys here. I want to wait for the boss. So I'm just going to manual this real quick. Get decreased speed on him. So the reason Stag Knight is so good is because he has a 2-hitter on his A1 and does decrease speed, which really helps if you're trying to just minimize the Fire Knight's turns. All right, so here the Fire Knight has his shield up, and you see this 10 right here, okay? So that 10 is how many hits you have to get before the shield drops. All of the debuffs that you would be putting on him, including drop turn meter, will not take effect until this is gone. All right, so Stag Knight has this nice decreased defense, decreased attack move. I'd love to put that on him, except it's not going to do anything now, and this is only 1 hit. So I'm going to go with this one, attacks 1 enemy 2 times. So now we're down to 8. Syl, I'm actually going to use her A2 here because it's a 2-hitter as opposed to her A1 being a 1-hitter. Brings it down there to 6. And part of the reason Razin is so good is because he has a triple hit on his A1, so we'll go ahead and use that. And let's see, Arminger doing his thing. Now, I guess with this team, you know, maybe I should have perhaps used Apothecary. Actually, let's see. You know what? Actually, I can do it because I have a mastery on Stag Knight, so I'm actually going to use this. Let's see, can Syl? No, she got a weak hit. That's where Syl's not good, but we've got Razin. Drops the turn meter right back down. And Arminger has this as a nuke. And I think that's on a 2-turn cooldown. I'm actually going to wait on her nuke until Stag Knight can get his decreased defense up. And I'm just going to kind of let this go. Why did she use that? I probably should have just turned that off. There we go. See, 500k damage from her nuke. So you want, and I'll show you the skills so you know. Part of the reason Coldheart's so good for this is she has a 4 attack on her A1 to bring the shield down, and then her nuke does damage on max HP from the enemy. So he's got a lot of HP. That's why she's putting up big numbers. It's also why she's so good for Spider as well. And she is one of those rares that you can pull that is truly an end game champion. Though since they added the level 25 dungeons, not quite as overpowered, but she's still really good. Like I still use her on my latter stage Fire Knight teams and everything. So let's go ahead and look at these champions here so you can see what we're working with. So we'll start with Razin. All right, so here we go. Attacks 1 enemy 3 times. Has a 20% chance of removing a buff. That doesn't really come into effect. He's also got this drop defense and weaken, so that allows me to put that much more damage on there. Part of the reason Coldheart's nuke was so devastating was because he had placed these. So that was really helpful. And then this skill here, Bog Down, attacks all enemies and decreases the turn meter by 100%. So that is effective on the boss to bring down his turn meter, right? So you saw like after I got his shield down, he didn't get a turn. Now, if I wasn't controlling the turn meter, he would put the shield back up and healed by a big portion of his health. I don't know if it's like 10% of his health or something like that, but he's got a lot of health, so it's a big heal, and his shield goes up, so then I got to deal with the shield again, and the process starts all over. So having the decreased turn meter is really helpful. It also helped during the waves, as you saw. I didn't finish with his masteries just yet, but because he has a triple hit, Giant Slayer is actually the mastery to go for. Because you have more chances of getting a Giant Slayer proc when there's 3 hits. Syl of the Drakes. And some of these guys, I don't even have them built super well for endgame just because I've kind of moved on to some other champions. But part of the reason Syl is so good for Fire Knight is because she can do a decreased speed and drop the turn meter on her A1. So decreasing the speed means he's moving slower, which means you can keep his turn meter down that much easier. She's also got this passive of healing all allies for 10% of their max HP. So she's keeping your team at full health, which is always useful. And she's got the revive, so that's good. Again, got masteries on her. I gave her Evil Eye just to decrease the turn meter that much more on her first hit with her default skill. If you can, it's good to put your champions in this. However, there's a few Doom Tower bosses where actually having Evil Eye is not a good thing, so just be mindful if you want to use them in some of the Doom Tower content, you might want to consider not getting this, especially if you plan on using them for Bommel. Oops. And then Stag Knight. Attacks one enemy 2 times, 30% chance of decreased speed, 50% when booked. So again, decreasing the speed is huge. Also, because that's a 2-hitter, brings down the shield that much more. And then having the drop attack, drop defense is also really helpful with this boss because he can hit fairly hard. Let's see, just here's the stats I have on him. And just for so you know, like you want to have accuracy at the level of dungeon you're doing times 10. So for level 20, you want 200 accuracy at least. Ideal. I mean, you can get by with less, but you want to aim for 200. That's gonna like really ensure that you're hitting your debuffs every time. And you don't actually need quite this level of stats for level 20. If you're doing 24, 25, you're gonna want stats closer to this. Oh, why did I keep doing that? So Stag Knight, Cold Heart. Which Cold Heart did I use? I have a couple Cold Hearts, so this one I actually have. I think I was using this one. But the other one I have in a reflex set, which actually I probably should have used her because then she's cycling through that nuke that much faster. Having lots of critical damage is really good because it just when you want to have her with at least 70% crit rate. She's got a 30% crit rate boost on her nuke. So she's always hitting critical, so having this big damage, because it does so much damage to begin with, this just amplifies it that much more, and it makes the fight go so much quicker. If you saw my video showcasing her for Spider 20 specifically, she's really good there as well, and she puts up even bigger numbers. You do want, so if you're using Syl like I did for level 20, the minions are going to attack her because she's weak affinity. However, if you don't have someone weak affinity, pay attention to how much health and defense she has. You'll also want to be careful because the Fire Knight can take her out when he gets a turn. So if the Fire Knight's taking a turn, you want to make sure she has enough health and enough defense to survive. If you don't want to use a weak affinity champion for the minions to target, what you can do is just put another champion in there that's got lower health than her and maybe with a little bit more defense, but you still got to be careful because she can, if there's AoE hits going in, then she's going to take more damage and they start targeting her. So Cold Heart is sort of the epitome of glass cannon in this game, so we do want to be careful with her. It's good to go big on her critical stats, but actually her attacks don't scale as much from her attack stat, so that's why I'm looking more for crit rate, crit damage, accuracy, and then health on her is what I'm looking for. So that's why I have an HP percent chest. I went crit damage on I gotta put better gauntlets on her. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. And then Arminger, honestly, Arminger's one of the best champions for Fire Knight, with the exception of he doesn't have a multi-hitter. So if you can have a team that's got a couple, like if you have a Razin and a Stag Knight, you might be able to actually make it so you could just get a couple Armingers in there, because his A1 decreases the turn meter by 30% if the attack is critical. So if you build him with 100% crit rate, he's guaranteed dropping the turn meter by 30% each hit. And if you have Stagnite putting decreased speed on, then he's not getting another turn. Also, he has this, which again is, so this one does enemy max HP. And so because it's enemy max HP, it does a lot more damage, and it's a 2-turn cooldown. So in some ways, he's actually better than Cold Heart, aside from her quad hit on her A1. Because he's going to be able to cycle through this skill really, really fast. So he can just keep nuking. So it's like drop turn meter, nuke, drop turn meter, nuke. All right, so I'll just go over some other champions that you can use. So I'm going to go ahead and look in my vault because I think a bunch of these I have in there. Actually, where is... Oh, here we go. Let me pull him out. I actually have not built an Allure. Allure is like one of the best Fire Knight champions, honestly. I just haven't built her because I got her so late in the game and I was already hitting... I think I was already just... No, maybe I was moving towards 25, and I figured I'd just use my second Cold Heart. Fellhammer. So Beardall Fellhammer is not a great champion. He can be cool like if you get him early game because he's got like this nifty passive, but for Fire Knight specifically, that's like his niche right there. He's not even like you're not going to use him super late game, but if you're struggling early on and you have him, he's worth investing some into. I wouldn't necessarily book him now looking back on it, but if you get him really early on, might not even be a terrible decision taking him to 60. But he can really help because he has a 100% heal reduction on his A1, so that way if the Fire Knight is taking other turns, which early on a lot of times it's hard to get enough drop turn meter, so using this, getting that heal reduction buff on the boss allows you to take him down a bit faster. And this attacks twice. His A2 attacks 3 times and does a decreased defense if he's under heal reduction, and then it places a shield on him, which is good to help keep him alive because I think he can be a little squishy. But then he also has this passive where it places a counter attack on him. So that means every time the Fire Knight attacks you, he's attacking back, and that's going to take down the shield. So if the Fire Knight attacks, he counters, shield immediately goes down to 8. So now it's that much quicker. So I was using him in my early Fire Knight team specifically for that reason. And he also increases your attack in dungeons. Let's see, who else was I using early game? Shatterbones can be a useful Fire Knight champion. I did use him a bit because he has a triple hit here, and that can also decrease turn meter, so that's good. He has Warcry, which decreases his speed and boosts your turn meter. He only has a single hit on his A1, so not necessarily the greatest. Whereas, so Apothecary, I still have him built with the build I was struggling with Fire Knight, and I just built Apothecary for it. Apothecary is probably actually a really great champion that you can use for Fire Knight, even all the way through, because he has this increased defense in dungeons aura, which is nice. He can heal. His stats, he's got fairly good base defense, which is good, so you can build him a little bit tankier so that the minions are targeting him. Because I was using him really just in Fire Knight, I put him in Retaliation set, which can help early on for bringing down the shield. I didn't have like a drop turn meter really built, so I was just relying on dropping the shield and putting the heal reduction back on, which is not as great a strategy for like later levels of Fire Knight, but up through maybe like 16 or so, that can be a useful strategy. And so the more counterattacks that you have, the better. And the good thing too is the Fire Knight can put decreased speed on you, so he can increase your speed to kind of counteract that, and he's boosting your turn meter, getting your team moving faster, healing team members when they start falling too low. And he has a 3 hit on his A1, so if you can get a counterattack to go off, then that's immediately dropping the shield to 7. So that's kind of the nice thing with Apothecary. Stagnate. If you have someone with a counterattack like Skull Crusher, throwing a counterattack on everybody, that's also super helpful. But actually, the other I remember. So this is not, he is not like a champion that you'll usually see used. Lordly Legionary is actually kind of a Fire Knight specialist in my opinion. Now, I don't use him still. I've moved on to other champions, but you can use him for Fire Knight because he has a 2-hit on his A1, and it places an extra hit if the target is under a 50% heal reduction or 2 extra hits if it's 100%. So if you can get 100% heal reduction on the Fire Knight, then this is hitting 4 times. So now when he gets another turn, you're dropping his shield that much faster. Also, Legion's Orders, reflect damage will tick down his shield. So again, if you're struggling with turn meter control, you can just try and find things that are going to bring down his shield real fast, and then you start doing damage. So you reflect damage. He hits your team. That's 5 hits. If everybody's got reflect damage on, his shield drops down to 5. Now, if you have heal reduction on him, he's going and hitting 4 times. So that really helps. He's also got a bit of a decreased turn meter in here and a decreased speed. And this also puts a heal on your team. So he's really good early on, and he's a free login champion that you can get. So not necessarily someone I'd recommend taking to 60, but if you're really struggling with Fire Knight, he can be a good option for you. So really, when evaluating what champions you can use, look for champions that have multi-hits to take down the shield. Look for champions that have heal reduction, turn meter reduction, and then you'll want some sort of healing usually or protection for your team. Okay, so hope that this video is helpful. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if there's another champion that you think you'd like to see me cover, or you want to know if they're any good for Fire Knight. Just let me know. All right, so take care. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.